Should you invest all your energy into shorts or should you produce long form content? Many YouTube gurus will tell you short is still really big and you can get more views and subscribers, but is that reason enough to only invest in shorts or not? We'll discuss it today. And I have an expert here as guest. She is a professional certified coach. She has her own marketing business. We had to calculate for how many years just before the show. For over 14 years, she has her own business. She's also a content creator and she also pushes her students to produce content. Welcome, Susan Tchaikovsky. Hello.
Hello.
So great
Thank
to
you,
have you here.
Marcus. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh,
I'm so
great.
excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really an interesting fact because that's one thing my shorts already did for me. Not only getting views, because what can you buy from views, but it gave me you as a guest because you saw my short where I talked about content creation is good to... shorts are good to start content creations, and you thought there is more to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that, and my first thought was, "Oh, there's more to that. There's way more to that. We need to
Way
talk."
more.
Marcus, can we
Yeah.
talk?
Yeah,
This is me
that's
typing.
yeah, and that's so fantastic because I love to do this show with you, but I would have never thought of asking you for this one, and so I think that is something we don't should forget, that content creation is also about networking, making connections, and finding new opportunities, and I think that's a really good example for that. And
Yeah, I
you
think
said
that's a really
that,
good point.
yeah, exactly. And you said you thought there is more to it, and that is one thing shorts can't deliver, because one thought, one short, and that's it, and else you already lost. So
Yeah, and in fact, if you try to cram more in there than one thought, that short isn't going to do well, right? You've
yeah,
got to be on point, one thought, and in and out, right?
yeah,
And the other thing we need to think about, we can sit here and talk about the structure of that, but what I really wanted to talk with you about was the bigger overall strategy, and not even just shorts and YouTube video, but short form content and long form content,
yeah.
because there's a lot to be said in there.
Yeah, so let's try to unpack this bit by bit. So for the first part, I thought let's look at it from the perspective of a creator, maybe someone like me who is fairly new to creation, and what is, if you just look inward, what is the benefit there? And then later we go to your points you brought with you. That will be strategy, control, ownership, and impact. And I'm specifically interested about control, because the other three I can imagine something, and control I will be surprised then. But
Okay.
first, I just found, for me as someone who is still fairly new into the game, shorts, they are easier to make. You can make them faster, and then you're faster in the feedback loop, and also it's faster to learn skills. So for me, live streaming is okay by now, but doing a whole recorded video, still really hard for me, and I don't really get to it. And I think with producing shorts, I'm developing the skills, because a long video technically to make is just many shorts in a row. What are your thoughts
So
on that?
yeah, so you're right. I think that shorts or short form content, and I want to kind of broaden it to short form content, because we're
Sure.
talking about YouTube shorts, but we're also talking about Instagram reels or Facebook reels. There are other places that you can do something similar, and in fact have similar dimensions. It is a fantastic way to get started when you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I need to play with the tech, but it gives you walls and boundaries and just borders that you can really work with fairly easily, versus when you're going for long form content, that can feel very big for somebody who's brand new. So I'm 100% on board for using something like short form content to get started, learn the tech, get comfortable, build an audience, and get just comfortable with creating content. But it's important that it not stop there, that's just the beginning. But I 100% agree
Yeah.
with you that that's a great place to begin.
Yeah, sure. Shorts are kind of the fast food, and then we can't eat fast food all the time. Exactly.
No, that's not good for you. It's
Yeah,
not good for you at all.
absolutely. So one comment I got, I made a short, what's holding you back from creating content? For me, it's procrastination. And one of the trolls there was, what's holding you back from going into the gym? Yeah, just because we talked about fast food. But yeah, it's also, but it's
There's a
fun.
great point.
Yeah.
There's a really important point in there, though. If your goal is to create content, I like to think it's part of a larger strategy. But you're holding back, if you say because I'm procrastinating, you're procrastinating for a reason,
Sure.
right? And that's usually fear and intimidation.
Yeah.
And something like a short or short form content kind of allows you to get in there and back out again and be like, okay, all right, are we still good? Okay, let's do it again. In, out. Are we still good? Okay. Right. So it's a great way to get started, to get your butt in gear, to get your body to the gym, whatever it takes to get you just creating content at all. And it's also nice because they don't have to be interconnected. You can try this kind, you can try that kind,
Yeah.
learn the tech, practice some things, get some techniques down. We're not worried about them all looking alike. We're worried about you executing. At that point, when you're early in the game, we just want you to execute. And shorts are a
Absolutely.
great way to help you do that.
Yeah, and I think another benefit is it really helps develop the skill of shrinking it down, getting to the point, get rid of the fluff. And even if you do long form content, you still should do all that just with a bit more time.
When you say you should do all that, what do you mean?
Yeah, getting rid of the fluff, unless it's intentional, but don't just go on and don't find the point. So the skill of really figuring out what is the point, what is my message, and focusing on that is, I think, a skill that will be good in all content.
100%. I think that's always a good skill. It's an important skill. And it depends on your channel. It depends on your brand. It depends on your audience, right? If I divert, because as is often going to happen, is my cat, who actually is not here, which is nice, but well, it's not nice. I like her. But if she crawls into my lap, there's going to be if I'm live, there's going to be a moment and I'm going to be like, hold on a second. I got to get her into my lap, because if I don't, she's going to hit me on the head. So it depends. If my audience starts liking her and that becomes part of my content, I might bring it in. And not that they don't like her, they do like her, but you know what I'm saying? If that becomes part of my brand and it's like, oh yeah, Susan with the cat that hits her on the head, now that's in there. And I would bring that in, even if it's off brand in my case, or not off brand, off topic in my case.
Yeah, sure.
It might become part of my brand. So I am saying, yes, you need to be on topic, whether it's short or long form content. But I'm also saying that you can play with it, and it depends.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree there with you, but then it is intentional. Okay, it's not intentional for you. You can't control the cat comes in, but you already thought about, oh no, that's good, and people can relate more, and it builds engagement. But then it's intentional things that come.
It's intentional.
Come in. Yeah.
It's intentional. And honestly, she would more show up, I think, doing that kind of thing during a live than a pre-recorded, because you're editing the pre-recorded, and so you can pull some of that stuff out. But I did one, I think it's just like a couple weeks ago, where the entire video was with her in my lap, because I was like, this is my time to do this. She is here, so I guess she's going to be here. And just went with it the entire time. And
isn't there something of an evil superhero who has a cat there?
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know about an
yeah.
evil superhero. That's an
I,
interesting
yeah,
one.
I'm not
Evil
sure. Just
superhero.
something that popped into my head.
Well, I'm just thinking evil superhero
No,
in
evil
one person.
mastermind. Yeah.
Oh, evil
Maybe
mastermind. There we
someone
go.
knows it, but it's not important.
Carol Danvers has a cat, but it's like from space, and that's another
Okay.
conversation. Okay.
Okay, let's not get distracted with that. So,
Yeah.
Fishstick USA is asking, what is the proper balance between increasing views for shorts and focusing on your views income for long form video? Great question there.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it depends. It depends. You've got to find your own balance, and that's kind of moving into the other part of our conversation, which is like, how do they work together as a strategy,
Yeah,
right?
let's
And
go to strategy. Okay.
yeah, and I like so I like what that question was about. How do they work together? Because what's important is that they do work together. Fish stick. Thank you for the question. There it is. So the proper balance between focusing on views for shorts and focusing on your views and income for your long form video, right? You've got to figure out what your balance is. But one of the things that I don't want to see everyone doing is new content, new content, new content. What I see in that idea, fish stick, is the fact that they might be connected. Perhaps you create some long form content and then you're creating short form content out of it, whether it's literally repurposing that piece of the video or creating video related to that so that they're working together. But the balance you're going to have to find not just in terms of your channel and your audience response, you're also going to need to find it in terms of your ability to kick that content out, right? What works for you? If it's easier for you to do 3 shorts and 1 long, then do 3 shorts and 1 long. If you're like, there's no right answer. And I think the mistake we all make with video, with marketing, is this idea that there's one answer, when in fact, there are a lot of options and you need to choose what works for you. And one of the questions in there is literally what works for you as a person, not just what works for your business or your channel or your audience. I think all of those need to be part of the question.
Yeah, that's a great point. It also needs to be sustainable. So if I'm
Mhm.
starting with doing 3 shorts a day and 2 long forms a week, and after 2 weeks I'm burned out, then I didn't
Yeah.
gain anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it has to be okay. And I'm not going to, we are aiming for consistency, 100% consistent, but there have to be exceptions to the rule. I was sick 2 weeks ago. Everything in my world like stopped, and that
Okay.
has to be okay. And now I'm starting back up again. I'm like, all right, get back on the horse. But we have to be okay with that kind of flexibility. And to your point, Marcus, if we're burning ourselves out, we needed to have made that change back before that happened. We've got to
Sure.
see it coming.
If we see it coming, yeah, that's the that's the
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. As soon as
sure.
we tend to resist those ideas, right? We tend to
Yeah.
be like, oh, no, no, I can do this forever.
Yeah.
No. No.
Okay. And so Fishstick has another question. Do you have a recommendation for proper length of long videos? Because
So videos long, not live cast, are too long. Once they hit 25 to 30 minutes, by that time, I'm looking for a way to stop watching. So I think you're hitting it. I think you're hitting it that there is a certain length, and the benefit of being able to edit those longer videos or short, any of them,
yeah,
is that we can take them and be like, the proper length is going to depend on the audience and the topic. And you're going to have to look at your data to see what people can endure. Right? If you create a video and it's 25 minutes and you look at the data and everyone's dropping off after 10 minutes, so
yeah,
they haven't seen, a good half of the video, then you need to shorten those puppies up. But I think you're right. We live in a microwave society where people are like, give it to me now. And a short can be too short, but you don't want that long to be too long.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So you've got to find that balance. I personally am trying to keep mine under 10 minutes, but that's a personal choice,
Yeah,
and I haven't got, I'm still looking at, I moved from Facebook. I was on Facebook for 3 or 4 years and I've moved my content over to YouTube. So I'm just getting that data now. So you've got to look at your data and see what makes sense. If your content, if your topic, there's no way to talk about this without going for a half hour, I'd be like, okay, how can you break that up into pieces? And then, maybe you've got segment 1, 2, and 3, and you help people bounce from one video to another.
yeah, sure. And I would also say take everything out that doesn't need to be there. Except, of course, it is like with the cat, it is for intentional
Entertainment
relationship
purposes.
building, and but and that is what I like, what I meant before, what you can train with the shorts. Just take
Yeah.
everything out that doesn't belong there. But I mean, videos, hour-long videos do work. Also, I watched recently an hour-long video on YouTube of a guy just building a log in the woods and doing that all with his own power. And it was so fascinating, and that does work. But
Yeah, with the right audience, the right topic, it's
yeah.
not that it can't be done.
But
Yeah.
but if you have material to be interesting for 10 minutes and you make a 20-minute video, then probably it will not be so successful.
Yeah. And these, you were talking before about the beginner, Marcus. These are not questions that you need the answers to at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's okay that you don't know yet. These are answers that you can be like, that's a great question. I don't have the information for that yet. Let's tuck that away. You don't need to know all the things. There is no perfect right way, and you don't need to be perfect out of the gate. You need to be creating content out of the gate. And it's as you create content that you will eventually learn those answers.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing observed about myself, but also about others. Sometimes we consume so much content, like we two are talking now about strategy and what to do, and if the amount of theory you consume is larger than what you're producing, then you need to balance that out. It's really wasted if you're never creating but always studying how to create. And
it is. There's a science and an art to it, as they like to say. There's a science, there's that technology, there's this figuring it out, but there are other things that you're just going to pick up and have a sense for because you've done it over time long enough that you just know, right? There's things in marketing. I've been doing marketing for over 14 years. I've done, prior to my business, I did it for like 5 or 6 years. So if I've been in business in marketing for 20 plus years, you get a sense of it. I had no idea what that sense was at the 5-year mark, right? And we can take that idea and bring it to video and be like, look, when you kick it out the first time or the second time, there's what you see, and then there's how you're doing it. And you figure out really early that there's a lot behind all that magic that we're seeing. And you're just going to have to figure it out, study it up. I love that idea of watching what other people are doing. Take what you need, take what works for you, and leave the rest. And figure out what makes the most sense for you. Some of these answers, like what's the right balance, you're not going to know right away because it depends on your situation, your system, your people, on your team, your audience, and your own personal energy.
Absolutely. And so Cheryl has a question. What would you say is the top 3 things to focus on in early stages?
That's a great question, Cheryl. The top 3 things to focus on in early stages: getting a clear point and staying on point. Worry more about your audio than your visual. And then just executing and getting in the habit. Those are the 3 things that I would worry about at the beginning.
Great. There we have it in a nutshell. Perfect.
I was like, boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
that's great. I knew with Susan.
What do you think, Marcus?
Okay, I would say start, improve, don't stop, and you're good.
I like it.
But
what were you going to say?
I can put you on the spot with questions like that, and you're just gonna deliver because it's what you're doing. So
some of us are planners, some of us are shoot from the hip. I'm very shoot from the hip. So
that's great. Yeah, and so let's talk a bit about strategy.
So that's a very broad, let's talk about strategy. Which part of this do you want to talk about? Would you like to talk about control, ownership, strategy, and impact, or do you want to talk about short form versus long form?
Honestly, I was just taking the first of your points that you brought.
Excellent. I reordered them. I reordered them on my page because then they ended up with an acronym, COZY.
So let's start. Okay, let's talk about control because that's interesting. That's the only one I can't imagine what you're going to talk about. So let's be surprised.
Okay. So let's talk about control. When I'm talking about control, and this, by the way, is Hunter. And like I said, if I didn't let her on my lap, she'd hit me on the head. Control is about ownership and control over the platform. And I just think it's important that we realize that we only have so much control when it comes to where we're putting our videos, right? So if you're putting your video on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or someplace like that, you only have so much control because we see it all the time. They change the layout of the platform, or it goes down for a day, they don't feed it to the right people. We only have so much control. I like to think we have a little more control in YouTube because, the algorithm, we can work with it. We can also distribute it and drive traffic. But when it comes to control, and that's where I'm getting, is you need to make sure there are places where you have control and use that control. So I can put a video on YouTube and hope that YouTube feeds it to the right people. But then I can take my own control and send it out by email to my email list and let them know about it. So I've got control over some of my audience. And I can, in my email, see who clicks and goes through to look at my video, and I can talk to them about it and ask them questions. And then there's also control here when you're live that you don't necessarily have with a VOD, where you're able to ask questions and engage and ask people what they want and things like that. So we need to recognize where we have control and make sure we do those things.
Yeah, and there also comes in the topic of not relying your whole business on the platform, of course.
Yes, you don't own YouTube, you don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram, right? You own your email list. And that's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
There's renting and there's owning. And we own our email list. So, if you have your entire business on YouTube and you're doing all these videos and then YouTube goes down or shuts you down,
yeah,
how are you still in control and in control of connecting with your audience?
Absolutely.
Making sure that you've transferred them to an email list, that you've invited anybody who's loyal, anybody who wants to make sure they stay in touch, to an email list that you then use, letting them know when you're live so that it's active and busy and they know that they'll hear from you, so that if something happens, you can still connect with them. So absolutely, that's what we're talking about when we talk about control.
Okay, and did we already slip into ownership with that now?
We slipped it right on into ownership.
Okay.
We slipped right on into, so control and ownership really definitely belong together. So, control, ownership, strategy, and impact. Those are the four things that I'm looking at when it comes to the power of short and long-term video.
Okay.
So strategy. It is important that your videos be part of a larger strategy. And maybe that strategy is you just want more people to be watching your videos and you've got an on YouTube business that you're hoping to get going and get up and running. As long as you've got a strategy for, okay, so what is it, who is it that those videos are for, and what are you going to do to help people find you, and how are you going to keep them engaged so that audience keeps building? If you have a business like mine where I run courses and I have a membership, how are the videos connected to that? What is the strategy that is tied to the purpose? What's the purpose behind your videos? What are you accomplishing by doing them? You're connecting with an audience, and how are you helping that audience get more? Maybe you have a community on YouTube and that can be part of your strategy, but what are the components and what is your intention is what I'm thinking about when it comes to strategy. So, and the reason we're talking about these things, Marcus, is because it's not just I'm doing video, period. You're doing video for what, why, for who, to do what. Right? You got to get all those things in there. So,
yeah, and then sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, and then there is, it's important to have this strategy because, especially with shorts, if you get fast views and subscribers, and then you can really get or I can, I don't know about you, get into that saying, oh, more viewers, more subscribers, let's do more, and then just focus on these numbers, and the numbers by themselves, they
Yep.
are just a
Yep.
vanity, they mean nothing. So
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. That's something we really, the numbers are great and they're fun. And honestly, if they get high enough, you could potentially be monetized. But we can't let those throw us from, but are people liking what they're seeing? Are they responding? Am I serving the same people? The people who liked and subscribed, are they still here? Are they still liking it? Right.
exactly, yeah.
And engaging them and asking them what they want and giving them that is part of how you can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's the quality of these views and subscribers. So
Mhm.
if I just get a lot of views and they never see me again, then besides vanity, I didn't get anything from it. And
Right.
and
Well,
if
and
some,
that's the difference.
yeah,
Sorry, I just got excited by something
yeah,
you said
sure,
because that's the difference between short and long form video on YouTube specifically, right? People, are subscribing to my long form video, they're coming, they're hanging out, or they're watching every video. That is a deep, loyal audience I'm building. If they watch all my shorts, YouTube just kind of sends the shorts out into the world and says, "Who likes this?" And that's where we get all the likes. But is it, and some of them may subscribe. You've got to look at, are they subscribing? Are they
yeah,
showing up again? And, is that, it's nice to get the numbers, but it's nice to have an audience, but we want the right audience.
yeah,
That's what this all
exactly.
comes down to.
And that's then about the quality of this interaction. So if you get
Mhm.
people who subscribe and who return, and maybe they become part of your community, or they're like you, Susan, and are writing, oh, okay, can I come on the show? And that's where you can win. And of course, with the
Mhm.
monetization as well. But
Mhm.
big creators usually don't exclusively rely on the monetization. It's not so much, mostly. So then
Yeah.
they're also making sponsorships, or putting products
Mhm.
out there. So there is still
Mhm. Yeah.
monetization is a nice thing to have, but it's not the end all be all.
Yeah. And I would not lock yourself into monetization. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful gold ring to grab, but you stop making videos, that money goes away, right?
yeah,
And you've got to wait, and you're basically getting YouTube's blessing. And there are other ways that you can make money sooner than that, like you said, like sponsorships or having a program that you're selling to help you get money sooner. And there are some long, detailed conversations tucked in there, but it's basically, and I've learned this from experience, don't put all your eggs in somebody else's basket,
sure, yeah,
right? I was working, in my marketing career here within my business. At one point, I was doing a lot of work with a company through a program that they had where they had people outside the company doing work for them. And it was great. And I was making money and I could see how this was going to scale for me. And then they shut the program down.
oh, okay,
And and it threw me in a totally different direction without me wanting it to, because I was liking that. So we can't take all of our eggs and put them in somebody else's basket. And if you're like, I'm going to get on YouTube, I'm going to monetize YouTube, this goes back to that control. I don't have control
yeah,
over how many people choose to watch my video. All I can do is influence that.
yeah. and,
So,
and
what
there's
kind of
also
things
a
do you have that
reason
you can
that,
control?
yeah, and there's also a reason that YouTube has high requirements for monetization, because if you don't get really high numbers, then the money will not be that much. So
Yeah, yes, like, "I got $1." Yes,
yeah,
right? No, that's not what we're here for, right,
yeah.
right, yeah. So,
So
we're
Lala
talking
has,
about your livelihood.
yeah, absolutely. Lala has a question. How can you best optimize your views from shorts to help your channel perform better in the long run? Oh, that's a difficult one.
The word optimize always, always, always throws me,
Okay.
optimize, what optimal, right? But from shorts to help your channel perform better in the long run. Lala, because I know that's mommy, I love you so much. I know Lala. That's just, but so
Yeah,
here's
we,
the thing
we,
we
we
need to
love
think
her.
about.
Oh, love
You
it.
do
No,
love her.
not eat her.
We love the question she asked for
Yeah.
sure. But the thing to think about is tying your shorts to your longs. right? And I mentioned before taking a long video and maybe pulling some shorts out of it, either from the content or literally exerting something and making it a short, but connecting your shorts to your long videos so that it's one cohesive channel, not putting out shorts that you just think will get attention to get the numbers, because then you're getting the wrong numbers. So from an optimization perspective, everything is working together. So I would be looking at shorts as connected to the long form content and maybe even driving them to the long form content. So if it's an excerpt from a longer video or you have something coming up that you want to drive people to, making sure you're saying that in the video or in the comments, in the captions to the video or something, but connecting and making sure there's a cohesive plan across all of your videos is going to optimize your presentation on YouTube. That's my take at this point in the game, but I'd love to talk to you about that a year from now and see what we think.
Right. Yeah, and I really love this sort of connecting it, especially in it works together. I would not overdo it with trying to make shorts an advertising platform for your long form, because that usually doesn't work. So the short has to be a value in itself.
Yes,
people will
yes, I agree. And
yeah,
you can still have it be valuable in itself and then be like, you want more of this? Here's where you find it.
Yeah. But
Right.
then
So
deliver that message really quick, or in the comments, or with because
or in a little pop-up.
In a pop-up, because you don't have the time in a short to, if the short is 10 seconds and then there's another 5 seconds, watch there, then you lose everyone. So
that's where editing comes in, though, right? Yeah. You've got a little thing that says watch more at, right? That kind of thing, or something like that. Connection. Yeah, that's a lot of it. That's what we're talking about. How you do it, you can't be clunky about it. But honestly, to be clear, and we said this earlier, you're probably going to start out clunky, and that's okay, because you're figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfect. And so it's funny, you mentioned procrastination earlier, Marcus, and procrastination and perfect are two sides of the same coin, and that coin is fear. I'm afraid of doing it wrong. I'm afraid of not doing it right, whichever way you want to look at it. The point is to get out there, to do it clunky, do it messy.
Absolutely.
You figure it's only through the mess that you'll find how it actually works best for you.
And for me, that's a big magic in live streaming, because I can't try to perfect it. It's the time, and now it starts, and then we go and we deliver whatever we deliver.
That's why she's here, and there's nothing I can do about this.
Yeah. So Shay says, I like to say what I know this far, or what you know at this point. Okay. You lost me there with the context.
What I know this far, because I was like, talk to me next year. She was like, I know this far. This is what we know at this point.
Okay, yeah. You're
this
good
at this.
You got the context. I need to practice that. But yeah, you went live for a long time on Facebook, so you're.
That definitely trained you. It trained you to pick up. Wait, what did I say? What did that mean? That kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
So absolutely. I do want to say, and we were talking before about like short versus long content, and one of the differences that matters, I think, in there is short form. It's really easy, or it's easier to get in front of a lot of people and have them consume, there you go, the whole thing. So, if it's a minute long or 15 seconds long, they're going to get to 100% really fast. The long form content, it's going to be harder to get somebody to stick around. But the people that do is where your relationships are going to build, where you're going to create a deeper relationship. You're going to create loyalty. And those people will come back for more. When you post, that you've got another video, those are the people that are going to follow it. So the short videos, if you think about it like a funnel, those short videos are at the very top of the funnel, where a lot more people are going to see it. And then some of them are going to come down, not 100% of them, a small percentage, but the more people that see it, the more people are going to come down to see your long form content and become loyal customers. So we can think about it that way in terms of how are they related. The short form content serves your channel from a numbers perspective, And it can get a lot of good numbers and help get you the exposure. But those long form content opportunities where you're going deeper and talking about things in depth and serving people on a much deeper level is where you're going to build those relationships.
Yeah, and serving people is a really good point, because I think if we bring value to the people, then we get a community and not just viewers who's
Yeah.
scrolling through. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that mindset, even if it is a business, it's still about, what can I do for the viewer or for a customer?
Yeah, especially because it's a business, it is about serving, right? It is about them. It's when the thing that stops people actually is when they think about themselves. But when you think about somebody else and how I can help somebody else, it relaxes everything and it makes it easier because you're just doing it to serve. And when they realize you're there to help them, they're going to meet you right there. Like it's very healthy for a relationship, for a business relationship to do it that way.
Absolutely. And so where are we in the cozy? We had control, we had ownership, strategy, we did now too, I think.
Yep.
So
And I think I jumped into impact. I think when I was talking about, we were just jumping ahead of ourselves, right? It was an on the fly list that we were working with. But impact is that exposure versus, you looking at shorts as how to get that exposure and find people to prime them for the impact that you can make with that longer form video where you can really go into some detail. And you can even go into better detail, I think, with the lives where you can do things like this where you're asking questions. But it's in the long form content and the lives where you're really going to make the impact. That short form content, you can make impact a little bit, but you've got 15 seconds or a minute at the most. You can only say and do so much. So your impact is limited. It can still be punchy, but getting, like I talked about the funnel, getting them to come down to get more from that deeper long form content is where you're really going to benefit.
Great. And I have to
make that impact.
Have to go to this comment because that's really, I'm so happy about this one. Fishstick USA says he's enjoying watching my journey on YouTube. Yeah, and I'm making the content while I'm going. And he's considering jumping in yourself. Do it. It's absolutely amazing, and learning. And that's the point of what I'm doing here. So and it's always those feedbacks, not the numbers are for the dopamine rush, very good for that, but feedbacks like that are what keeps the thing going. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, so the cozy. Now we did it. And
yep, that was the cozy acronym. That worked.
Great. And you mentioned it. You jumped over to YouTube from Facebook too, for not too long ago, or?
I stopped Facebook the middle of last year. A lot of things happened in my life, and I just had to stop everything. And I started rethinking about just, and it's just all personal stuff. My mom got sick, things like that, and it just really made me start to think, okay, what do I want to do? Is this really where I want to be? Is this working for me in the way that I want it to? And I decided it wasn't. And so I moved over to YouTube. But when you take a break like that, where I was like every week, like clockwork. And when you stop that clock, it's really hard to get it started again. And I'm doing YouTube differently. And you have to. And that's actually the takeaway I want to say right here, right now is where you are impacts how you need to show up, right? Facebook Live can do a lot, and you can really do that. But YouTube Live needs to be in partnership with shorts. You need a different strategy for a different platform. And that's true across all the platforms. Which platform you're on is going to help dictate what your strategy is.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Facebook is more connection through you connect with people who are connected already with you, and it spreads out. And,
the reason
correct me at the end, and then YouTube is more let's try to find who needs to see this. Okay, now.
Yes. No, I think you've got it. And that's just it. And I apologize for starting to interrupt you. Facebook is based initially on who you're connected to and then goes from there. And if you're in a business account, and if you own a business, you need to be doing this off a business account. It really tamps you down. It really limits you because they want to be pay for play. And in YouTube, it really is about who wants the content. It's much more value driven, which was one of the big things. When I started to realize that, I was like, oh, I need to be in YouTube. That's where I need to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's absolutely a piece of it, is making, their algorithm is different, but also the megaphone is different, right?
Yeah.
There's a very limited megaphone on Facebook. They really don't let you get your voice out there. And on YouTube, the right content, the right audience, the right, speak both to your audience and the algorithm, and you can get out there a little bit better. At least that's my understanding. Again, talk to me in a year.
Okay. Yeah. And on YouTube, in theory, you could also pay ads to get the video in front of people, but nobody recommends that because it's much more. Nobody I know recommends that. It's much more valuable to get those viewers organically. And
curiously,
just for a little I'm coming right back. I have welcome, Brian. And I have welcome, Horace. Thank you for subscribing. So, okay, sorry. Now we're back.
Oh, no, that's great. I love that you're doing that. That's the whole point. But you were talking about ads and not recommending it in YouTube. Actually, in Facebook, the pay-to-play kind of a world, that actually does work really well. At least it did for me. I would do my Facebook Lives and then post live, drive traffic through Facebook ads, and it worked really, really well. I've got some serious views on some of those some of those videos, and I've picked up a lot of followers because of it. So it works.
Yeah. Okay.
But but to your point, yeah, it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah,
but
I think it could work on YouTube then too, but it will not work if your content doesn't really have the quality and isn't really aimed at. So if you're a beginner and someone as a beginner is thinking, okay, I can have bigger numbers if I pay, it will probably fail. You will get these numbers, but they will not be coming back. And if, of course, once you have the quality, but then you probably don't need to pay because people come organically. So it's really a different business model, but
yeah, it is, and that's where like I said, I stopped like last summer. Now I'm like, okay, let's get this party started. So, but it's a different strategy, and you've just got to get your head around it, and you've got to work within it. No matter where you're doing your content, you've got to be like, okay, where am I? How can I make this work? What's the right strategy for this platform? And you need to understand how it works in order to do that.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing to understand about YouTube are two things. One thing is YouTube will try to figure out who is your audience. So if you're doing things all over the place, they will not find it, and that will stop you. And I forgot the other one.
Well, there's a point in there, so they have these different things. You'll see them like, let's follow each other, and
it doesn't
if
work.
it doesn't, because you're telling YouTube the wrong people, or Instagram or Facebook, whatever platform it is. If you get all these people who don't care about your content to follow you, you're telling it the wrong message.
Absolutely.
You're saying that these people are important and they're not.
Yeah, now that the rest came back to me. So exactly, you need to know that you need to target something to help YouTube, and then you practically need to know nothing more about algorithm, because YouTube really is centered about how do we get the right video for the viewer and how do we get him satisfied. And as long as your viewers enjoy your videos, you're good. So that's all you need to know about YouTube.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would think of the algorithm as just one of your powerful audience members, right?
Yeah.
It's just like all the other people in your audience, except they know everybody else
Yeah, and
that's
they go
like
to
them. So it's just trying to
tell
figure out
this
who
one,
they
yeah,
are.
go watch this. Yeah. Okay. And that's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like, okay, who's in the room? Okay, I
Yeah.
need to get more of these people. So you want some cohesion in terms of that. So, but let's talk about that content for a second, right? It's not necessary for we're not it doesn't have to be a super narrow band of what I'm talking about. You know, it can be, I think of it as rings, right? You've got your core content, semi-related content, and then well, so core, secondary, tertiary, right?
Yeah.
So third level. Right. Now, my cat shows up a lot because she will just do that. She hears me talking and she pops in. So my cat ends up being part of the content, but I'll relate it to her.
Yeah.
I am a cyclist and I don't do content about cycling. I do content about marketing, but I'll relate it to cycling. Right. And it might be tertiary, but it's connected. I connect it to the core.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we
Yeah.
say, yeah, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's the point. If you interweave the cycling with your message about marketing, it will work. But if you say, okay, now I want to make some vlog videos how I went cycling, and then it gets served to your usual audience, and 95% of them will say, I'm not interested in that, and then YouTube gets confused and your videos get less views. And
Exactly.
that's the thing.
Exactly.
But you can bring it in as long as you say connected, tie it in there. Yeah,
As long as it's
absolutely.
related and you're just driving a point home or something like that, I think that
Yeah,
that works. I think that works really, really well. And that's the point is you're now creating diversity in
yeah,
your content, even though the core content has stayed the same.
yeah, and also try to bring in personality, like you with the cat. That's something about you, and yeah, you're not a robot. We don't want to see a robot talking to us. So bring your
Mhm.
personality and your things in, but it needs to serve a purpose.
Exactly. Exactly. See, you've got it. You know.
Yeah. So the thumbnail was versus, and now we're all in agreement. But I have another
Mhm.
question from Fishstick USA. I have noticed that for many YouTubers, they seem to presenting different brands with long form versus their short form videos. Is it important to understand your brand before you begin? Okay, I give this one right to you.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as the first half of this, presenting different brands with long form versus content versus short form, so they've got one brand with long and one brand with short. I don't know the answer to that question. It is
Okay.
outside my realm of understanding right now. But the second one I can work with, is it important to fully understand your brand before you begin? No, because here's the thing. Every brand is in constant evolution. We're always shifting and changing, and it depends. My brand 14 years ago when I began is very different than what I'm doing now. And it has evolved, it has changed, it has shifted, and that's the way it should be. It's a living thing. So I would at this point just make your best guess on what your brand is and let a lot of that be just you showing up authentically and let it evolve from there. That's what I would recommend in that case.
Yeah, and authentically is a very important part of this
Mhm.
that answer, because if you try to
Yep.
be someone else, you can't sustain that.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it
and
will not
people aren't
work.
gonna resonate with it. People it's not gonna resonate for people, they're gonna notice that it's off, you can't
Yeah,
sustain it. Yeah, it's important that you be authentic, not just also on how it comes off, but how comfortable you feel
yeah,
doing it, right? There needs to be that as well. If you can't show up authentically, they're not gonna get to know you, and people can tell. It's
yeah,
weird, people can really tell when you're not being yourself, and so it's important that you just show up as who you are and let it be okay. And again, all of this is an evolution. It really, really
yeah.
is.
So unless you're a trained professional actor, just be yourself.
The
Yeah,
trained professional actor probably doesn't know who themselves is anymore because they've been so many other people.
exactly.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. I can see
Yeah,
that.
and that's another short I made is about my accent, and because that's also about, yeah, just be yourself. I was so self-conscious about my accent because for me as Swiss, it's cringe if I hear other Swiss talking like me, and I was afraid, no, I can't do that. And then once I put myself out there and I got feedbacks, oh, we love your accent. And of course, some people will hate it and they will not say something probably, but you have to focus on the people who connect with you, and the accent is here. I mean, I would need to train really, really hard to get rid of it, but on the other side, I just can use it as a skill, because people remember me because of the accent and maybe they like it. And the people who don't like it, you will not win them anyway. So focus on the strengths of that.
Yeah, for you, that's part of how you show up authentically, is with this accent. If you beat that accent out of you, you wouldn't be the Marcus that we all know.
Yeah.
Right. That's part of it. That's how you show up. One of the things that makes me authentic is I tend to dive deep into topics. And if I were to just kind of glance upon a topic and then keep moving and did that consistently over and over, that wouldn't be me showing up authentically. I'm like, hey, let's go really analyze this really, really, really well, right? That's my content. So, we have to be okay with understanding who we are and then bringing that forward and get comfortable with putting ourselves out there authentically.
Yeah, is that the reason you haven't put short form content out? So it's not you, or
really, I did one and I was like, okay, wait, I can only do one thing at a time. I've got to get this whole thing figured out, because I'm used to doing live and now I'm doing pre-recorded. And so I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And so it's a matter of time and getting my head around one thing at a time. But they're coming. It's not a question of if. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when. I just finished launching a program, and I'm running that program right now. And there's only so many things you can do at once. But spring is coming, and I think that shorts and more videos are coming along with them. It's just a matter of time and effort and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's coming.
And if people want to know more about you or about your services, they can go to Susan CZ. I can't spell that. CC, or how do you say it in America? I say
so. I say Susan CZ, but I like the Susan CZ. I think that works just fine.
Yeah, with the other one, I can't tell the difference because between the two letters, but okay. But it's written here.
It's on there.
So there we can find more about you. And yeah, the thing you just launched, I think that's too late to join, but we can join another.
Yeah, it's too late to join because we're a week in now. I have a few different programs, but the one I just launched is a 4-week program called Get It Done, which is, you talked about some things like procrastination and perfection, and I'm not sure yet. Fish Tank is like, do I need to know all these things before I can get in there? It's like, no, just do it. And Get It Done is a 4-week program that's like, all right, let's get it done. Great. Let's do it.
But just go to the website and see what's up there, and just get in contact with Susan if you need anything more. And if you want to see her journey on YouTube, we have that here too. It's at Susan CC. CZ.
Yep. Yeah. CZ. I'm Susan CZ everywhere. It's just easy. Yeah. I don't even want to spell my last name. Nobody should have to. So.
Okay. I did it for today, but I did it very carefully. I was looking, how is it in the messenger, and I did it letter for letter, because it would be really bad to have a guest and then spell the name wrong. It's not something you want to do.
Yeah. Well, especially since it's sort of like European and you're European, you got to get it right. But no, it's good. It's not a big deal. No, I don't care as much. That's why I've shortened it, is because I don't care. But yeah, YouTube, is newer for me. But like I said, I've been on Facebook for years. I'm just transferring over and being like, okay, how does this work here? And I'll be doing some lives. So hopefully, Marcus, you'll be joining me as well.
Lives. Of course. You know where to find me. You found me this time. So
I found you this time.
So you'll find me next time.